Hello, I am Joe Rocky, and this is how to get your prospects to let their guard down so they will buy from you. In this hour, the way we're going to do this is that I'm going to teach you three exciting core concepts and go depth into them. I am then going to give you an opportunity to join the Casino Sales Master world, and then I'm going to give the cream of the crop at the end for the last event in the teaching element. During all of this time, feel free to submit your questions, as my producer Steven will be reading them, and at the very end of the show, I'm going to answer every question that was submitted to me. Now, thankfully, a lot of people who were reached out to about this event had already given me some bullet points and things to mention. When I mention them by name, don't think I'm reading their questions now. We are saving them to the end. Steven will know that if there's something incredibly pressing, that I will answer it and he'll speak up and let us know. But let us begin with the question of why care about Casino Sales Master? Why is it even called Casino Sales Master? So when you have something that is so impossible to believe, you have to slay a major dragon. And in my case, I looked at what are some things that every culture in the world universally agrees upon. And when you start making that laundry list, it's really itty bitty. There's not a lot of things that every culture on this planet agrees upon. But one of them is that every casino on earth is built to take your money. That's why they exist. They're really good at it. They literally rig the games to give themselves a mathematical advantage. So if you go into a casino in the long run, you will lose everything. It's what they're built to do. But if you can overcome that dragon with just sales skills and relationship skills and get those people to let their guards down to want to see you succeed, well, now that's something completely different altogether entirely. And I want to get into the beginning of this show how to get prospects to let their guard down to buy from you by starting with the elephant in the room. Why are their guards up in the first place? Why do buyers and sellers naturally have friction where prospects aren't open to people? And this is literally a problem that goes back to biblical times. The Bible itself talks about how salespeople and buyers have a friction between them. And the fundamental reason is the old 1960s car trope. You're not getting off this lot until you leave with the car I want you to buy. I am going to use you as a salesperson to get my commission. Whether or not my product or not helps you, I'm going to get my commission and my value from you. That is the default setting of salespeople since the dawn of time. It's still with us here today. But people are going to be like, well, no. I don't feel like I deal around or interact with that anymore. You do. Just because everyone ran to the internet, to eBay and Amazon to avoid salespeople. That was what happened. And Amazon and eBay flourished, predominantly selling on features and benefits. So everyone took that success of Amazon's taking off, eBay's taking off. It must be because they're selling solely based upon features and benefits. But this is an example of causation and correlation not being the same thing. People do not buy because of features and benefits. When people want to buy something that's important to them, not necessarily expensive, but important to them, they do want to talk to someone. They do want to interact with a salesperson to know that they are making the correct decision, which is a dichotomy between the buyers and the sellers. We don't trust each other, but we need them. And the further this point from the seller standpoint, you can go across the entire internet. You will not find a successful wedding band or engagement ring store. You won't. Because when people want to buy something important, they want to go and talk to their jeweler. But from a buyer standpoint, I can't open myself up to a profession that is designed to use me, that is designed to take advantage of me. Because every person on this planet is repulsed by being used. It's one of the shallowest and worst feelings that we all share. It's universal to the human experience. So we have built a universal playbook up that has gone through generations through back to time. Here's how you learn it. Same way as everyone else, by the way. When you were a child, you were taught to say the truth, to be honest, to answer questions when set upon you. But every time you saw one of your parents interacting with a salesperson, they lied. They lied to that salesperson. And you learned that throughout your life. So now your common interaction between a buyer and a salesperson looks something like this. Hey, what brought you here to this car lot? Do you want to buy a car? No, I'm not here to buy a car. Step 2, we try to get free information. You know what? On second thought, how about I do a test drive and I rattle your ear off with 500 questions of everything I want to know? Step 3, be non-committal. So, glad you had the test drive. Do you want to go out and make a purchase? I don't know. I think I got to talk to my wife or something. I'm just not sure about this. Step 4, disappear. Everyone's ghosted a sales agent before. Quite frankly, it'd be weird if you haven't. It's part of the buyer's playbook that we all have as every person within us. It's part of life. So how do we overcome this problem? This problem that is rooted within the biology of every single person. Not to start with buyers wanting to lie, push us away. Well, that's what we're about to cover. Because psychologically speaking, each of us have a process of letting people into our world. And we're going to dive into this really in depth. But to start with, all of us have a process. And those that go through our buffering system, we will share absolutely everything with. Most people only let about 6 people into their world. We call these people our best friends, where we will share and tell them everything. Everyone else is somewhere in that process of they have to pass my test to let them into my space. And that is an element of human beings. It is just part of life. So when we look as far as this is the battleground that's happening with every person's brain, how on earth can we get to be able to have that person want to open up to us? We've all had people that just naturally clicked with and it was easier. But there's way, way more that are, I don't want that person to know anything about me. When's the last time you answered that Nigerian king that would give you $1 million if you just gave him 20 grand up front? It's the same concept. We all live in this fear of not wanting to be used. So the first thing that I'm going to give you here is going to be a drill. And this drill is going to be essentially to set our foundation correctly. Put us in a spot where we are going to be able to fully utilize our abilities and to be able to connect with people on a fresh, clean slate. This is going to be a visualization drill. So those of you who are listening while driving, you have permission to pass. The rest of you, all of your notifications need to be turned off. That task you're thinking about doing later on the day, that is to be removed from your mind. Put yourself in a comfortable and calm position. Close your eyes. And for the next couple of minutes, envision the descriptions that I am giving you. See these in your mind's eye. Imagine that you are walking around a beach, around a lake. And this lake has a sandy beach, very broad and long. And as you're able to walk around it, you are seeing what looks like little squiggles within the sand. And as you look closer, you start to realize, well, they're actually words. And some of the words are written very largely, some of the words are written very smallly. But they're all words nonetheless. And as you're continually walking around this beach, you start to realize these words have stuff in common. All of these words are describing your own skills and abilities. And the ones that you like doing more, that give you more natural joy, are written larger. And it's a great sense of peace seeing all of the different things that you can do and that you are good at written all up and down this beach. And as you continue to walk around the curvature of this beach, downfield, you see what looks to be a very scary and sharp object just laying there in the sand. As you continue to walk towards it, you notice that that object might not be as sharp as I thought it was, might not even be as heavy as I thought it was. And now, as you finally approach the object, you pick it up in your hand, you see it's not that sharp at all. It's really not even that heavy. And you turn and you throw it into the center of that lake. When the lake absorbs that object, it creates a ripple effect that goes out in all directions across the beach, washing all of those words away. And as that water recedes, all that you see are 3 to 6 of your attributes and abilities written very clearly there in the sand. And I want you to deep down read those words and etch those 3 to 6 attributes and abilities into your brain. See them in totality. You may open your eyes now. What you just went through was seeing the 3 to 6 things that your brain and soul know that you need to lean into to be able to overcome whatever problem is daunting you in your moment. And when you go through this, it's a complete realization that limitations cannot hold you back. See, we all have various limitations of resource, time, money, energy. But those attributes and abilities, that skill sets that you just saw, those aren't bound by time, energy, or money, or any other limiting resource you can pick. They are within you. And the calling for you is to look for opportunities to use them. All of us have a different set of what our abilities and what those 3 to 6 are. And that's a good thing. As you go through the remainder of your week, look for opportunities to use those abilities and those attributes. In doing so, a lot of things are going to happen internally. One of which is you are going to become happier. Because when you do what your brain just told you gives you the most joy, that's basic math, you become happier. The other thing that will happen is that you will be becoming what the key word of this generation is: authentic. As you see on your screen, be true to you. In leaning into those skills and abilities, that is what you will be doing. The other byproduct that will happen, not just your own personal joy, but will come a deep confidence. As people, there are very few things that are universally attractive. Not a lot of people agree upon hairstyles, fashion, or any other metric that could be deemed attractive. However, as a species, we all agree that confidence is attractive. Confidence is the byproduct of leaning into your attributes and abilities. Again, that are unique to you, that are what your body loves and adores. Leaning into them is the pathway for not just growing your own business, but growing internally and becoming the person that people want to be around. And in that process of that transition gets us into the next important facet we have to do, which is how to get the right prospects to come into our world. Because there is, like any other magnet, no guarantee that you'll be lined up correctly. But how do you find prospects that will value you? That is the true key. Because if you put the wrong prospect through your pipeline, you're just going to break your company. It's just a reality of life. You might not know it yet. You might be in desperate need of a cash flow and you think that this guy has a lot of money, so I'm going to try to make him a client. But at the end of the day, if you put the wrong prospects through your business, you will hurt your business. So let's talk about how to find prospects that aren't your ideal client, but actually will value you. And let's start with that notion, because that's one of the worst things that are being thrown around in the world of sales. It's not a new thing, but what is your ideal prospect? And oftentimes it's laid out with a plethora of different demographic information. Where do they live at? What is their income level? What is their age? What is their education level? Etc., etc., etc. And that gets pushed around everywhere because it's never been easier to get that kind of information about a lead of prospects, to get a whole list to sell people. It's really, really easy to do. AI is getting better at it every single day. The problem is your ideal prospect has nothing to do what they look, taste, or smell like. The only thing that your ideal prospects have in common is what is the problem that they need solved. Not even how they need it solved, but what is the problem that they need solved. And does your product solve that problem? That's all that fundamentally matters when talking about what is your ideal prospect. So I need to put a pause there and have everyone check and go, well, is that how I'm thinking about my prospects? Do they just have to be in this category and then I can win with them, like a softball coming across the middle of the plate? Or am I thinking in the mindset of they have this problem, it doesn't matter who they are, I can solve this problem? Because the latter is how you start with building successful businesses. Your strategy of how do you build a marketing plan begins with what is the problem that they need solved and how do we let people know that we do that? And that's really the core of all of finding prospects that will want that. Being true to yourself as a company and leaning into it. We just did the individual exercise about 7 minutes ago about your 7 attributes or your 3 attributes that will define you. You need to know that for your business too. What are the core problems in which we solve people? And where are they at in their journey when they experience these problems? So to give an illustration with this, instead of just talking as a textbook format, we're going to talk about pizza. So in the world of pizza, there's all kinds of different chains and companies. I just want you to think about 2 chains for a minute. Domino's, Pizza Hut, and we're going to contrast this with your favorite local place. Every prospect can be in a different place despite all of their demographic information being the same. Exact same person will have a preference and a need to go to each one of those 3 different spots. For instance, say you need to give the entire team the post-game meal after a game. Well, you want to do it with the most amount of volume at the least amount of price. Because after all, these are all everyone else's kids. I don't care what they eat. What's the answer to you? Pizza Hut. That's what their world is. Ton of volume, reasonable price. Or say you're in a different situation where, you know what, you're just really hungry and you want it now. Well, that's what Domino's calling card always is. And they'll be able to get it to you anywhere on this earth. Now they'll even drop it off at places that aren't even your house. It's crazy. And then there's those other times where it's like, you know what? I just really want to impress this person. And I'm going to do it with the absolute best pizza in the world. And that would be the example of the local place that you love. In all of those situations, you didn't change. Your demographic data was exactly the same. However, your need and desire and your problem changed, and so too did your actual outcome for where you would choose. Now, that doesn't mean that being hardcore into volume or into speed or into quality, any of them inherently have a different strength or weakness, because they don't. What you need to know is the truth about yourself and your company. What makes you you? What is that problem that you solve to its max? And yes, it might be a bigger market in the speed pizza world than the quantity pizza world. Be true to your space gives a strong magnet for those that want you to come to find you. And that is the starting point. Because yes, there'll be outreach as well. But you start with that clear spot of this is where we come when we need this problem solved. You don't need to have a giant menu. You don't need to have 500 different variants on how you solve the problem. You can keep that internally if you feel you need it. But what you need is the problem you solve and a crystal clear image of what that is. That will get the right prospects to come into your world, to come to want to see you. That should be the basis of any marketing plan, any strategic outreach in which you do. And that's great on a broad level. But let's now dive into the actual nuts and bolts of how to do a sale. This is one of the things that Vivian asked me to bring up in this show a couple of weeks ago. Once we actually have the prospects here with us, how do we go about and getting them to truly tell us the reality? How do we get into the solution of them opening up to us? Now, I hope that everyone watching doesn't think that I just used the last 20 odd minutes as a preamble and you can skip it to now to this part of the chapter as we specifically get into opening up their shells. Because the last 20 minutes is the work that you have to do to be prepared for it. And as we begin here, I'm going to be giving you another drill to make sure you're explicitly prepared for it. Because when we're talking about adjusting our psychology, it's not a light switch. It's not just boom, it's on. It's like training for anything else. You have to put in consistent, ongoing effort and work to do it. And just like any other form of training, when you're with someone who's already done it, who can teach you how to do it and know when to push you, when not to push you, you get better results. That's why we do this with my clients. So when we're talking about this next drill here, what we're going to be doing is entering into the space that is the root evil about why people don't open up to each other. Said in one simple English word, vulnerability. And in this next drill, I'm going to make you be vulnerable. Granted, vulnerable with yourself, but vulnerable nonetheless. And you all just felt a different tingling. In some of you in different parts of your body. Some of you it was the back of your neck. Some of you it was in your gut. Some of you it was in the back of your arms. Where you felt a tingling because you know you're about to be vulnerable. Guess what? Every other person can see that you have that experience. We might not be able to consciously describe it, but their subconsciouses know that you did that. And because they know that you did that, they know your reaction type. Again, this all happens on your subconscious level before the logic part of your brain even knows what's going on. That's how quickly this happens. This is why you can instantly look at someone and go, it's not going to work. I don't want to connect. Don't come over here. Don't talk to me. Or you can instantly connect with someone, because all of us have different traumas from back in our past. All of us have things that didn't go the way that we wanted them to go. However, the way in which we go about in presenting them out to the world is unique to each of us as well. Because some of us, when we had a problem that caused trauma, another person immediately came in and solved it for us. Some of us had someone yelling at us for creating the problem in the first place. Some of us just got flat out neglected and ignored, along with a plethora of 100,000 other options and combinations that could have happened to us. And as a result, they have left psychological scars all over us, everywhere. We can detect these in each other. We can see them very clear. And what I'm about to do is to teach you a drill that will be able to overcome them so that your scars get removed from you. So that when someone else sees you, they don't see their red flags. They don't see the extra reason of, no, don't come over here. I don't want to talk to you. No, they don't see all the extra reasons to push you away. This drill is so important. We actually do it in 2 different formats during our trainings. And we, again, do it every week. So again, put yourself in a comfortable place. Close your eyes. You are going to experience a moment of vulnerability in this. Your brain will want that to stop. Just like anything else that your brain knows is hard, that it doesn't want to do, it will give you lots and lots of distractions. Lots of things that would pull you away from this moment. Your responsibility is to have the fortitude to overcome that. To be able to stay in this space, stay in it even though it's uncomfortable, and to be here. This is the pathway of true growth that will get your prospects to want to open up. Your brain knows the complete laundry list of things that happen in your life that you didn't like. It knows all of them, and it's got it in a nice little Google search. Type into that Google search one of the things that you didn't like, a situation that did not go the way that you want. And the cool thing is that your brain is the opposite of Google. Instead of putting the most scary and difficult ones at the beginning, they put them at the very end. And it gives you ones in which you can handle today as your front page results. Go into one of those memories that did not go the way that you wanted. And look at the people involved. Take all emotion from the situation out. Just looking at person A and person B. And based upon the natural relationship, is person A and person B acting correctly? And when I say natural relationship, you instinctually already know what I mean. You act differently with a child than you do with a parent, with a coworker than you do with a boss. Based upon this relationship you see in your mind's eye between person A and person B, are they acting correctly? And sit in the tension of this moment. And the challenging part to this is, do not try to change it. Do not try to solve it. Do not try to run from it. But sit in that tension. Sit in that awkward place and stay in it. In an ideal world, in a normal training environment, you would stay in it for 20 minutes. Obviously, we're not going to be able to dedicate that to this hour. but stay in it. And then the following day, you can do something about it. But staying in that moment, in that tension, in that scariness, will begin to remove your scars. And in that process of removing your scars, when other people are looking for red flags to push you away, they won't see them. It also will make you able to be more comfortable in other anxious moments around you. Just as a byproduct of anyone who starts running, oh, I lost some weight too. I look a little better. This is how it happens here. Sure, you're looking at previous events in your past and being able to sit in that trauma. But when a future potentially unnerving event occurs, you won't react in a way that puts up red flags for others. And again, all of this is happening on a subliminal level that most of us cannot consciously do anything about if you don't put in the extra work before you begin. That's the cool part. You are building strength and value within yourself and building it within these relationships that will grow. So, yes, it will make you an infinitely better salesperson, but it also will make every other relationship in your life better. Your teenage daughter will fight you less. Your boss will have less friction with you. Life will just become better. Things will start working. And it's all because the increased ability within your relationship skills. People will want to see you succeed. That is what happens. Now, let's talk about some of the specifics of how we apply this into a sales context. Because sales is the most difficult starting relationship you can have. I went over in the beginning how people are bred to hate and lie salespeople. How can you possibly have that be the area of them opening up? Well, earlier in the program, I talked about one of the wrong assumptions that were made about how people buy, which was features and benefits. This is why so many entrepreneurs fail. They believe if I make the greatest widget, everyone will want it because it was the greatest thing ever. It's not how people buy at all. It's safe to hang out just talking about, features and benefits on the surface level. Because on the surface of talking about features and benefits, you don't put any of yourself out there. As a salesperson, if they don't want this product, well, they didn't like the features and benefits. I have no personal skin in the game aside from maybe a missed opportunity. But that's not a connection. That's not going to connect and resonate with your buyer's soul and make them only come to you for the rest of their lives. That's just, all right, saw a cool image on YouTube. I'm going to watch this video. It doesn't really connect there. If you want someone to buy from you, you have to be willing to invest yourself. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and enter into a relationship with them. You have to be able to swim in their ocean of emotions. So every relationship is going to start with the same fundamental starting point. The prospect is going to want to lie to you. It's how they were bred as a starting point from the beginning. This is no indication upon you, your business, or your product. That's how buyers are. So why are you here on this car lot? Do you want to buy a car? No, I'm just looking. It's cool. All right, dude, for real. You just want to walk around in the middle of this snowy asphalt pit because it's your thing? It's fun for you? Calling people out on their lies is one of the best pattern interrupts that you can do because no one does it. Also, it makes them recognize that even they might not realize they are lying to salespeople. A lot of you throughout this have been saying, well, that's not me, Joe. You're just making a straw man argument so you can knock it down. No. Think about the last time you were in Costco and they were giving out free samples and you went and you got your free samples from the Costco. All right, cool. You tried it. That's you getting the free information. And then when it came time to, hey, you going to put that in your cart? Yeah, I'll think about it. Let me go around the corner over here. And then you disappear and ghost the salesperson. We all do it. It's part of life. So when we're talking about getting into the ocean of emotions, it's breaking that initial set by making, oh, I was lying to you. I do want to open up. Well, the reason I'm looking here at this SUV is because I just want to be able to have something that's off the ground. And, I don't even tell my kids this, but it really hurts my knees to bend down into a sedan, and I don't want to do that anymore. We're not talking about four wheels and an engine anymore. We're talking about a guy who doesn't want to admit that he's in pain because he's getting old. We're talking about deep, real stuff to him. And quite frankly, he's not even willing to have this conversation with anyone. This happens every day with salespeople that are doing their job correctly. They are connecting with people on primal levels that they don't let into their world. And the reason they don't let them in is those red flags that they see in someone else. Plus, you already had the accelerant that you're supposed to hate a salesperson anyway. It's really easy to push away a salesperson. So we did the pattern interrupt. We acknowledge what's real with them. But to harp back upon the bigger process, you have to have done the pre-work. You have to have been doing your drills to be able to get yourself in a space. To give another example, the first couple times that you go skydiving, there is a person that is attached to you. If that person is looking all over and fidgety and just generally looking nervous, and they're the one who's attached to you as the instructor, you're going to have an absolutely horrible ride. You probably won't even want to get on the plane, and you're going to be worrying about dying the whole time. Conversely, if you see someone there who's cool, calm, collected, joking, laughing around, you're going to have the ride of your life. You're not even going to think that there could be a problem. And that is the difference between the pre-work and not. Putting the effort in and being prepared is how you change not just your own psychology, but how you be able to be receptively received differently, which is how prospects let their guard down so they can buy from you. Now, I mentioned a lot of times that there's a number of different drills that you can do. And that is what we do at Casino Sales Master. Casino Sales Master is both a course and a coaching program. It has 27 different courses that we have people go through. Each is released upon a different week. Additionally, on every weekday, you get your training module that you have to do. And in those training modules, they are all built towards this same goal: getting prospects to let their guard down to buy from you. Now, we don't let anyone slip through the cracks. We are very aggressive in the way that we reach out to people. It's predominantly done through email, and we make sure that you don't miss what's going on. Because training, not everyone wants to do it. It gets to a spot where it's like, it's cold, it's rainy, I don't want to go outside. Apple just made a commercial about it a couple weeks ago for Quitter Friday. That's part of life. People don't want to be put in a spot where they're uncomfortable. That's why transformation doesn't really happen. And if you want to stay in the place you're at, that's fine. But if you actually want to see a transformation of growth that improves every element of your life, especially your sales life, well, then you got to put in the time and effort. And that's where the ongoing accountability that you see on the screen is, with us reaching out to emails. Now, we also don't leave this as a course where you just log in and watch and never have interaction with anyone. We do two different kinds of connections and coachings with people. The first kind is similar to a mastermind, where we bring all of our clients in and we talk about their issues of their day. What is going wrong? What is their shortcomings? And how do we overcome it? The second kind is a laser focus on a particular student's last sale call. And we watch that sales call and we break it down like the NFL breaking down film. This was the good, the bad, the ugly. This is what needs to change right now. This is what you should be commended for. We do all of that to give laser focus as far as the strengths and the weaknesses of what's going on. In conjunction with the ongoing work that you do, you put yourself into a place that is absolutely unstoppable. Now, we do this instead of charging one big price tag up front. We allow people to have the option to be with us on a monthly basis. The cost of doing so is $9.97 a month. The full course overall is much more than that. But we do it this way because we know A, it works, and a month-to-month agreement is completely fine. We also do this way not to put pressure upon people. So you know the whole time we're constantly putting our value where our mouths are. We're not letting people sneak through and disappear. We want to see everyone succeed. I thoroughly know that sales will heal the world, and that going through the venture of learning how to sell correctly is one of the most important assets any person can do to change society. Because when you are reaching out to someone and giving them tremendous solution to their problem, you are fixing them in a way that creates ripples that goes on for an unseen amount of growth. Every time a sale is done correctly, you are helping people. And conversely, every time a sale is done wrong, you have the same power to hurt someone. There is so much positivity and upliftingness, globally speaking, that will happen from selling correctly. I believe that this is one of the most important things I do in all of my economic life, to teach people how to sell correctly through Casino Salesmaster, which, by the way, the website is casinosalesmaster.win. It's about a casino. It ends in .win. Casinosalesmaster.win. And for the first 3 people who register today on February 13th, we're giving an additional value because I want to see everyone succeed. And for these first 3 people, we're going to do a complete audit of your current sales system. This is something that my consultancy firm charges $15,000 for, and we're giving it for the first 3 people that sign up here today. Because being a part of the Casino Salesmaster community is incredibly powerful and valuable, and we want you to be a part of it. Now, I did promise that I was going to give 4 training modules, and I've given you 3 henceforth. So let me give you one more drill, the one that marries the future and creating a self-fulfilling prophecy to make your success carry forward. Each of us have a cell phone, and in that cell phone has the ability to do both video memos and voice memos. Choose whichever one you're more comfortable with. For the sake of the exercise, it doesn't matter which one you choose. Now I want you to think about someone you want to have a meaningful relationship with in the future. Whether that future be 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when the kid turns 18, it doesn't matter. A meaningful relationship you want to have with someone in the future. And think about what that person will be like and what that relationship will be like. And your task, at least once a week, is to leave either the voice memo or the video memo for that person when they are at that age. Talk to them as how you want that relationship to be, as if it already is. Share with them your happiness, your joys, your fears, your sads, the issues of the moment. You know, especially when if you choose a child for this or a grandchild for this. You know, when they're 13 and you and your mom freak out about the first boy she brings home, you can't really explain that correctly in the moment to a 13-year-old the same way you would to someone who's in college. Well, here you're going to leave that message for the 18-year-old high school graduate version of her. So you can tell her the truth about why that felt that way. And again, you can get into big, heavy stuff about like family secrets, why people act like that, why cousin Timmy doesn't come to Halloween anymore, or any of the other things. Or you can talk about light, fun stuff. Like, man, Your Uncle Paul keeps leaving me all these group texts about how Mahomes got crushed. It was awesome. The point is that you're seeing the relationship for what it's going to be then. And you are communicating to them in that moment, in what they are going to be in the future. The positive effects of what come out of this are outstanding. We've done this with a number of clients that have come past that moment in which they were doing the videos in the future for. It happened to be one of his anniversaries. So, given that it was a milestone anniversary, he bought these really like stupid expensive earrings, like too much. He presented them the earrings and a flash drive. The flash drive containing all of the voice memos that he had made. And after they do their dinner on the way home, he puts the flash drive in the car and they start listening to some of these messages. Some of the messages that he had left for her over the last year or so. And in doing so, what he found was the value and the meaning of the messages that he left for her were infinitely more meaningful than those earrings that he bought, to the point where he didn't even need to give them the earrings. Because when you are sharing yourself with someone, even if it's not in this moment in time, but for that future moment, you are giving an infinite gift. And that will always surpass a momentary want. And along the way, you also subconsciously will be building the bridge to get to that point. You will be building the process to get there. This is intentional relationship building at its core. Making a self-fulfilling prophecy to get the relationship that I want with you to happen. Now, disclaimer with this is relationships involve multiple parties. So you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. But you can create the steps and the momentum to get there. And your brain will just figure out ways to do in the moment to make the small moments lead into the big results that you want. The other part is what you will get for yourself internally. In conjunction with those original 3 to 6 attributes that we started with here, that you're looking for reasons to lean into and to use, you will be growing that relationship with them, growing it in a meaningful way. And hopefully this has come across in all of the teachings here today. When you grow any particular relationship, the successes of that endeavor bleed over into your other relationships. The converse is also true. When you destroy something, it will bring you down in other areas. But as you build yourself up and you go for creating these messages for the future, you grow every single other element of your life. This is what we try to provide and do provide for every single one of our clients with Casino Sales Master. Yes, I can walk into a casino floor, the place that is guaranteed to take your money. I can have that dealer want to see me succeed because I've done nothing to push them away. In fact, I've actually done a lot of other things I haven't been able to talk about here about pulling them in closer to me and making them an ally, where we have become a connection where we want to see each other succeed. And we have created a win-win opportunity for each other. And then I walk out of that place that is filled with all of the negativity that any relationship can bear. And think of a casino. If it's a negative term, it's probably applicable. And come out of that place making the employees their world better, my world better, and the overall world better. That is what you get by being part of the Casino Sales Master. It doesn't matter what sales environment you are living in. Once you have slayed the ultimate dragon, you can take care of all the other ones. So I do thank everyone for being with us here. I did mention in the beginning that I will be fielding questions here during the last 10 minutes. Looks like we actually nailed that here, Stephen. So Stephen has been reading all your questions here along the way, and let's fire them out and see what we got. Okay, what is the Steve? I think I need you to read these. I'm too far away. Can you just read it to me?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But I was just putting it on the screen for
Just learned
everyone
that.
else. There we go. What are the most effective strategies for establishing a genuine connection with potential buyers of your services? And how can you build trust and credibility to convert them into long-term clients?
Yeah, so going into their ocean of emotions really is the core. And it doesn't matter whether this is a business to business or a business to consumer situation. You have to get into their world to find out what their true problem is. So going back to that car example, he wasn't there to buy the SUV because of the four wheels of the engine. He was there to be able to buy a way to have his knees to stop hurting. It's not why people normally go to car places. That's why that buyer was there. So you get the solution by being able to go into their soul and getting the real problem. That's the starting point. The essence of every single transaction they do, because we are people, is going to be directly correlated to how does it benefit them. My knees aren't hurting. Okay, this is easier to show in an individual buyer to consumer conversation. In a buyer or in a business to business conversation, it's actually the same thing, just with more steps. The only difference is you need to go through layers to get to your decision maker, right? So when you're talking to that connection in a business to business sale, the question then becomes, how do I get this person to tangibly care about moving me to the next process, the next person in the decision-making chain? And when you successfully do that, that's how you go up the business to business world. That's how you end up connecting and be able to get all your sales done. So how to build trust and credibility with them is you get into their space that they don't normally share with anyone. And you do that by the opening up processes and the drills in which I gave throughout this episode of how not to have fear in your trauma lines to give additional reasons to push people away. Thank you for the question, by the way.
So next question is from Chris. Chris says, thanks for offering this event. How do you get past the current stigma of online connections? Meaning, I prospect quite a bit on LinkedIn and it has turned into a much harder pitch these days.
Oh, sure it is, Chris. There's no doubt about that. You know, it gets back to the core element of actually what I was kind of answering that last question. Why should someone as an individual care about you? You know, a trap that so many business owners have, myself included, I want to try to say I've never been here, is that we know so much about how we make our bread. And we know it's the best tasting bread on the planet. And that if anyone ever tries this, they will be hooked for life. But they've never tried it because they don't care about us. They have their own bread guy. Why would they come to you? So, Chris, what you really need to do, whether it be on LinkedIn or any form of marketing, quite frankly, is you have to get to the core of what is their problem. What is it they actually want? And what can you give them to step down that line? Now, specifically in the world of LinkedIn, we got a little extra barriers. We only got 300 characters to send an introductory message to be able to connect with someone. So you have to do this in a way that is has zero sleaziness to it. There's no forcing anyone to do anything, but actually giving either an opportunity, knowledge, a lesson, anything that you can give quickly that shows, hey, I actually want some bread, and this isn't just a sample that I got to sign up my email and they're going to badger me for the rest of my life, but it's just like free information. Like, you know, we figured out how to grow a sourdough colony, and this is our secret sauce. You know, I'd love to talk to you about how to do this. You know, I'm just spitballing here, Chris. I'd have to know a little bit more of your business to do it correctly. But the core element is you give them something that no one else is even perceiving. Because the vast majority of the world, when we're talking about these social media connections, are the equivalent of screaming, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. But again, that's not how people interact. They don't buy based upon logic. They buy based upon feeling. This is why you see repeatedly people buy or vote for people. They don't remember the words, but they remember how they felt during the speech. I felt good, so I voted for that person. It's not really a logical way to run a country, but it's the way that our brains work. So when we're talking about connecting with people on LinkedIn, giving them something that is in line with their core problem. And depending on how well you know your clientele, what their actual underneath problem is, not just the surface problem, but one of their core underneath problems, that will really drive them to a moment of success. And then, like I said, from there, you go do your particular sales process to bring it home. So hopefully that was a good answer for you, Chris.
And this is one last question. This is from Regina. Regina says, in Casino Sales Master, you talk about creating an environment where prospects feel confident and comfortable. How do you recommend sales professionals establish that level of trust early on in the sales process?
Well, doing the homework beforehand is a big part of it. And by homework, I mean those drills that we teach our clients every single day. When you remove your red flags that you're presenting to other people, again, completely subliminally, and some people won't be affected by them all. Some people will radically want to push you away. But when you get rid of all of them, it makes it so much easier to walk in because you're not getting pushed away before you start. And just removing that counter pressure opens up so many doors because you're going to be entering into a space very quickly that they don't normally let people into. And because of that, you're now rare, special, and meaningful to that person. So doing the drills, doing the exercise, and making yourself strong in this emotional department is how you do it. Why it's the backbone of our sales course, to be able to teach people how to do this. So that's the answer, Regina, is you clear yourself of all those traumatic scars that we talked about earlier on here along the way. And Steve, I do thank you for keeping me online so I don't answer so many questions that we're here all day. I know that we told Link that we'd be wrapping up at the top of the hour here. So I thank everyone for watching and for being with us here today. It is casinosalesmaster.win. That is where you would continue the relationship with us to be able to grow with us. Casinosalesmaster.win. Thank you all for being with us for this hour. And it was awesome.